270 people have logged on. Let's kick it off, ladies and gentlemen. No rest for the weary. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. Welcome. Today is the 25th day of July, 2013. We're about to begin our live worldwide free presentation of alternative medical treatments for muscular dystrophy, science-based, clinically verified therapeutics, the intention of which are to support and promote your body's ability to fix itself. Let's begin. Now, in understanding this topic, it's perhaps prudent to start at the beginning. So that's where we're going to start, at the very beginning. If this circle represents all of the knowledge that's in the universe, everything that there is to know about everything, this piece here is where most of us hang out. It's the stuff that we know, right? I know how to ride a bicycle. I know how to speak English. I know how to play golf, right? It's like that for everybody. There's stuff that we know, and then there's a bigger piece of the pie, which is the stuff that we don't know. I don't know how to speak French. I don't know how to fly an airplane. I don't know how to do quantum physics, right? This is how it is for everybody. There's the stuff that we know and the stuff that we don't know. But interestingly enough, the biggest piece of the pie of all of the knowledge in the universe is the stuff that is so far outside of our reference range that, you know what, we didn't even know that we didn't know that. And when we have access to this information, we have a eureka moment. And in order to understand how the treatment and research for muscular dystrophy, how the treatment and research for most chronic diseases is meted out in the world of the 21st century, we need to gain exposure, information from the piece of the pie that's the stuff that we didn't know. And so it's my intention tonight to give everybody in the listening audience a eureka moment about how medicine is divvied out here, because in point of fact, our cousins, the MDs, do not own medical science. Your medical doctor, no matter how smart they are, no matter how nice they are, no matter how socially conscious they are, do not know what's best for you. They only know what they've been trained in, and what they've been trained in is just one piece of the pie of medical science. Now, the pharmaceutical industry and the American Medical Association has gone out of their way for the last 100 years to convince you that the MD piece of the pie is the only valid piece of the pie, but in fact, it's just one piece of the pie of medical science. As a matter of fact, the piece of the pie of medical science that MDs are trained in is referred to as allopathic medicine. MDs do not practice medicine, and nobody does. MDs practice a type of medicine referred to as allopathic medicine. I'm a naturopathic medicine. There's osteopathic medicine, chiropractic medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture, so forth and so on. MDs are not trained in medicine. They're trained in allopathic medicine, and this is a very important distinction. Allopathic medicine is reductionistic in its philosophical orientation. Virtually every other medical system, every other piece of the pie of medical science is holistic. MDs have cornered the market on reductionism, and as it turns out, reductionism is somewhat antiquated, outdated, and old-fashioned medical philosophy. Reductionism argues that the human body is a machine made of parts, and it's the doctor's job not to fix the machine, but to manage the illness. It may interest you to understand that MDs are not trained to be concerned with the causative factors of diseases. They are only trained how to manage the disease state with symptom-suppressive drugs and surgery. Now listen, there's nothing wrong with drugs and there's nothing wrong with surgery. In 16 states in the United States, naturopathic physicians can prescribe drugs. The problem isn't the drug, it's how it's used. And what you're attempting to do to the physical body through the delivery of the disease. Now, MDs also, interestingly enough, are trained to believe that the human body does not know how to fix itself. Once you're sick, you're screwed, and your only option is to let the MD march in with symptom-suppressive drugs and surgery, the intention of which is not to fix the problem, but to manage the problem, to take over the metabolism of the body and to control the inner machinations of the human body. This is a revelation for most people. Your MD is trained to believe that your body does not know how to fix itself, and it's the MD's job to manage what's going on. Now, this might come as a shock, and this might be hard for you to believe, but let's bring it down to reality. How about heartburn? Can medical doctors cure heartburn? Are medical doctors able to cure heartburn? Well, no, they can't. Medical doctors are trained not how to cure heartburn, but how to manage it. And they do that very well with Prilosec, proton pump inhibitors, antacids, and so forth. Now, I want you to consider something. Talk about stuff you didn't know. To the profession that does not even know how to cure heartburn, we have given nearly $600 billion to come up for a cure for cancer, millions of dollars to come up for a cure for muscular dystrophy, millions of dollars to come up for a cure with cystic fibrosis and high blood pressure and arthritis and type 2 diabetes and obesity. And I wonder why all of these diseases are getting worse, getting more pronounced. It's because we've given the research money to the wrong profession. For goodness sake, MDs, bless their hearts, don't even know how to cure heartburn, and we're going to expect them to come up with a cure for cancer. This is one of the biggest mistakes that we have made culturally. Now listen, this is not an MD bashing session. This is let's get a clue. This is let's get informed about what our real medical options are. And in a perfect world, because MDs practice reductionistic medicine, their wheelhouse is trauma care, surgery when it's necessary, and infectious diseases. MDs excel at these things. This is what they are best at. And if it were a perfect world, it would be illegal for allopathic reductionistic MDs to treat chronic disease. The only thing that they would be allowed to treat would be trauma, broken bones, bullets in the arms, heaven forbid you have your leg blown off in Iraq, surgery when it's absolutely necessary, and a handful of infectious diseases. It's illegal for chiropractors or naturopathic doctors to do open heart surgery. This is not our wheelhouse, and this is not what we are trained in. Conversely, it should be illegal for the MDs to practice on chronic diseases, because that is not their wheelhouse. And interestingly enough, MDs are in the driver's seat of medicine not because their therapeutics are better, not because their therapeutics are less expensive, not because their therapeutics are more effective. It's because of legislative happenings that occurred at the turn of the century in the United States. In the 1920s, this man, Abraham Flexner, was hired by a pharmaceutical clearinghouse, the Carnegies, to go around the country and do an inventory of all of the hospitals and medical schools in the United States in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And before Abraham Flexner's report, which is referred to as the Flexner Report, before his work, there was a relatively level playing field of medicine in the world. Nobody had the upper hand. You had the naturopaths, the osteopaths, the chiropractors, the herbalists, the MDs. It was a relatively level playing field, and nobody had the upper hand. But after the Flexner Report, the Carnegies gave millions of dollars of free money to the MDs and the hospitals which prescribed drugs. And they also glad-handed legislators to pass laws which made it illegal to practice medicine unless you prescribe drugs. So after the Flexner Report, the balance of power shifted dramatically. The MDs rose into ascendancy, And they have stayed there, not because their therapeutics are more effective, but because of drug money. Where's Nancy Reagan when you need her? Just say no to drugs. Now, this gentleman saw it coming. Dr. Benjamin Rush, one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, and he'd be turning in his grave right now if he saw what's happening with the delivery of medicine in the United States and Europe and Australia, and quite frankly, everywhere in the free world. This is what Dr. Benjamin Rush said over 200 years ago: unless we put medical freedom into the Constitution, the time will come when medicine will organize itself into a dictatorship. To restrict the art of healing to one class of men and women and deny equal privileges to others will constitute the Bastille of medical science. All such laws are un-American and despotic, and that's exactly what's happened, ladies and gentlemen. We do not have a free medical market in the United States, nor do we have it in the European Union, nor do we have it in Australia or New Zealand or anywhere else in the world. The only medicine practiced in your hospitals, the only medicine covered by your insurance, the only medicine that research money goes to is MD-directed allopathic reductionistic medicine, and it's been that way for the last 100 years. And while we have let the MDs drive the bus of medicine, autism has risen from 1 in 10,000 births to 1 in 50. Alzheimer's has risen from obscurity to become the 6th leading cause of death. 30% of our children are obese. 33% of the American public, adults, are obese. Arthritis is rising. High blood pressure is rising. Infertility is rising. We're getting worse and worse and worse. And with muscular dystrophy, there is not even a cure anywhere in the crosshairs, because we've taken the wrong dog to the hunt. We've given the research money to the wrong profession. And the only reason that we've done that is because they have monopolized the medical theater for the better part of 100 years. But thank God there is a better way. Now remember, with medical science, right, there are many different pieces of the pie. There's the chiropractic piece, the acupuncture piece, the homeopathic piece, the herbal piece, traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture. You know, lots of different ways, including naturopathic medicine, which is my profession. Myself and Dr. Wallach, the founder of the Longevity Company, are naturopathic physicians. And the naturopathic piece of the pie of medical science argues that the human body is endowed with a God-given intelligence. It's a holistic philosophy. We argue that the human body knows how to fix itself, the human body wants to fix itself, and members of my profession are trained in the science-based, clinically verified application of treatments which support and promote the body's ability to fix itself. If anybody tells you that holistically oriented naturopathic medicine is unscientific, they're lying to you. Our entire profession is intended to marry the holistic medical approach with scientifically validated research. Now, in every walk of life, there are people who excel at what they do. Da Vinci. Nobody was even comes close to Da Vinci's resume. Albert Einstein. In the world of entertainment, Oprah Winfrey. The list goes on and on. The Beatles, right? Mozart. Steve Jobs. There are people who are way better at what they do than their contemporaries. Well, in the wonderful world of science-based, clinically verified naturopathic medicine, the unrivaled superstar is my colleague, mentor, and friend, Dr. Joel Wallach, the founder of the Longevity Company. And we're going to be talking now about Dr. Wallach's research with cystic fibrosis and muscular dystrophy. Dr. Wallach is 74 years old. He gives over 300 free lectures a year, spreading his message of health recovery through science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition to anybody who is wise enough to listen. It is the 25th day of July 2013. I'm interviewing my friend, mentor, and colleague, Dr. Joel Wallach, right now about his experience with cystic fibrosis and, more importantly, muscular dystrophy. Welcome aboard, Doc. It's always a pleasure to spend some time with you.
Thank you, Dr. Glidden. Appreciate it. And let's go to war.
Okay, let's go. So everybody that's listening has the backstory about your career, the $25 million of federally funded research that you did, and the fact that it's in the Smithsonian right now. And I'd like you to tell people the story of the stint that happened while you were at Yerkes Primate Research Center in Atlanta, Georgia. Let's hear that story.
Well, the short version of it is in 1977 at Yerkes, I was a pathologist doing a service pathology for all the studies and experiments of deaths from what would be called natural causes in the primates there at the facility, as well as ends of experiments where they wanted to know what the implants or the drugs did to the animals. And I ran into a 6-month-old failure to thrive monkey that had some unusual lesions in the pancreas and liver and lungs that I had never seen in an animal before, and just took a couple of days of looking around and realized it was cystic fibrosis, which is a disease of children, thought to be the iconic, and I'm going to cough here a second, excuse me, thought to be the iconic example of Mendelian genetically transmitted disease. They claim that, and this is theory, but they claim that 1/4 of Americans carry the gene for cystic fibrosis, and it's the most common, most iconic Mendelian genetically transmitted disease. Well, it turns out when I actually tracked it back, and you have to remember that I'd already done some 20,000 autopsies, 17,000 and some change, in over 454 species of animals, including various species of primates, and 3,000 humans, and 10 million chemistries, and 10 million slides of special stains. And I backtracked things. I did blood tests, and I was looking for either nutrition or pollution, and sure enough, it turned out that the cystic fibrosis in this monkey was caused by a nutritional deficiency of the trace mineral selenium. And I did biopsies of kind of cousin monkeys in the same facility that were the same age, and they weren't looking well. They also clinically were not doing well. And by taking biopsies of their pancreas and their liver and their lungs, I found that they did in fact also have cystic fibrosis. So I was convinced, and we treated them with the selenium, and they all got better very quickly. And I kind of kept it close to my vest at first, and then when everybody agreed that it was cystic fibrosis, all the experts, and I got an invitation to give a presentation at the National Institute of Health at a animal model event, because it was the big news story. Everybody's in the news with this thing all over the place, 1,700 newspapers. 2020 was just a big thing. Emory University made big news releases all over, and everybody was excited that the NASA program that I was working with in that particular colony of rhesus monkeys had discovered something unusual and fun and perhaps helpful to humans. Well, when I told them in my abstract for the presentation at the animal models thing that I could reproduce, I didn't say that I knew it was cystic fibrosis. I just said I could reproduce these animals that had been diagnosed with cystic fibrosis, first animals, and I could reproduce this. I knew what caused it in these animals, and I could reproduce it. And they fired me just summarily. I said, well, don't I get a chance to defend my findings like you would with a PhD defense of your research? They said, no, you're just fired because, you know, you're so way out there that everybody knows it's genetic, and if you say you can reproduce it, we've all claimed it's genetic, you're going to embarrass everybody, and so you're just gone. I didn't have a contract or anything. Talked to lawyers, and there was no chance to get my job back. Actually got a job within about a month by going to various laboratory animal events, and I got a job as the director of the animal research facility at St. Louis University in the medical school. And I thought, okay, this is it. I'm in charge here, plus being the pathologist, I'll be able to control this cystic fibrosis thing. And before I got my box unpacked with my reference books, the dean of the school came down and said, oh, they've contacted me because they made out a news release that they'd hired me. They said, if we hire you, they're going to defund our federal research grants, and so you got to go, Wallach. And so it was very obvious that this was not going to work anymore. And a good friend of mine, John Troxell, who graduated vet school before I did, said, look, I'll help you. And he made a big news release and everything about everything that was going on. And I got calls from the lobbyist from the National Health Federation, Clinton Miller, and he had me speak at Chicago at the National Health Federation, which is an annual meeting of alternative health people as well as individuals who are interested in alternative health, which I've never heard of these people because I was in standard medical research. And it just so happened that the naturopathic school from Portland, Oregon had a booth there looking for students to come to the NCNM, the National College of Naturopathic Medicine, the oldest naturopathic school in the United States, in Portland, Oregon. And they're also looking for staff members. And they asked me to come speak to their continuing education, CME, continuing medical education for the naturopathic doctors to keep their licenses. And I spoke there, and I showed them diseases that were caused in animals by nutritional deficiency, showed them slides of the same diseases in humans, and showed how you could reverse these diseases in humans, treating them nutritionally like we did in animals. They liked that, and they hired me as the person to teach nutrition to the freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior naturopathic doctors.
Now that's a remarkable story, Dr. Wallach. So let me just kind of summarize just to make sure I've got this clear. So while you were working at Yerkes, you discovered that cystic fibrosis could cross species lines, and that it was not a chromosomal genetic thing. It was actually a break in the chromosomal structure. It wasn't a gene. It was damage to a chromosome, and that it could be easily reversed. And when you published your findings or brought your findings to them, they said, this just doesn't coexist with our way of thinking about things. You're fired. Get out of here. Go packing. That's what they did, right?
That's a short version of it. That's correct.
All right. So now you're in naturopathic school, and you become a naturopathic physician, get your naturopathic medical degree, and start applying what you've found with all of the animal studies with humans. And tell us how that parlayed into your experience with muscular dystrophy.
Okay, well, as a veterinarian, of course, muscular dystrophy, a.k.a. white muscle disease in calves and sheep and goats and all kinds of wild ruminants, is a disease that's easily reversed by supplementing with selenium. And there's a cardiomyopathy, heart disease that goes along with that, which is a selenium deficiency. In pigs, they call it mulberry heart disease, and because that's what it looked like to farmers when they cut the dead pigs open, they look like their hearts are mulberries. And my mother actually funded the research, which my wife, Dr. Milan, who's Chinese, my mother funded the research for Milan and I to go to China, in Qishan, China, in 1990, to do autopsies on kids that had died of what was called Qishan disease, which is the cardiomyopathy heart disease, which is known by the World Health Organization as a selenium deficiency. It was my reasoning, if I was correct, that the cystic fibrosis in monkeys was caused by the deficiency of selenium, and we knew that the cardiomyopathy heart disease in humans was caused by a selenium deficiency, in kids under the age of 10, there would have to be some of those kids that also had cystic fibrosis. Now, it's supposed to be a genetic disease of Eastern Europeans, white Eastern Europeans. Was not thought of to be a genetic disease of Orientals of any kind, or black people of any kind, or Hispanics. It was just white people, Eastern Europe. And so I went there and did autopsies on 1,700 kids under the age of 10 at the various universities, Harbin University, Qishan University, and so on. And did 1,700, did all the chemistries, and found that 35% had cystic fibrosis and 100% had muscular dystrophy, a.k.a. white muscle disease. Wrote it up, international papers, the Trace Mineral Research Institute's monthly journal. It was published in several Chinese journals in English as well as in Mandarin and Cantonese, along with the co-authors, a couple of doctors that Dr. Milan knew, my wife knew, and they were instrumental in getting this done. And I presented all these papers to the Muscular Dystrophy Foundation, the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, universities all over the place that had medical schools and treated pediatric patients, and got zero response. And again, to make a long story short, I was kind of starving trying to treat kids with these diseases because everybody knew that the doctors knew best and everybody went that direction. So I had to learn how to treat other diseases: arthritis, high blood pressure, diabetes, arthritis, obesity, dementias, eye diseases, blindness, and so on, gluten intolerance. And in one of the events that I did in Lancaster, Pennsylvania for the Amish communities, and this is about that same time in the 90s, even before the Dead Doctors Don't Lie audio cassette tape came out in 1993, in Lancaster County, I was asked to go see a little Amish family that had a small boy, 6 years old, with muscular dystrophy. And he could only lay on the floor. He could move like a log. He would roll like a log using his head and neck to roll himself over. When he get to a chair, he could pull himself up with his arms and upper body. But if you let go of the chair, he'd fall down. And we put him on the 90 essential nutrients, got him off of gluten because he had a little rosacea on his cheeks and everything. So put him on a gluten-free diet. Got him on the 90 essential nutrients with extra selenium. And 3 months later, I hadn't had any calls back from them, and I just was so busy, didn't think much about it. And I'm back in that same Amish community in Lancaster County and Pennsylvania, and we're in this Amish church. It was a hot August night, and the front door was open, the back door was open, and it was lit up with Coleman lanterns because they don't have electricity, and no air conditioning. It was very, very hot. Everybody's in their shirt sleeves rolled up, and no jackets and no ties, obviously. And here comes this half a dozen little boys running through the front door of the church, right down the middle of the church in between the pews, and out the back door kicking a soccer ball. And guess who's in the lead kicking the soccer ball? The same 6-year-old kid who 3 months earlier couldn't stand up. Now he's playing soccer with the best of them. And I realized that this was something that would work in kids. And over the time, I'd run into a muscular dystrophy kid here and there. We learned how to diagnose it early, even without biopsies, by having these kids squat down, you know, kind of like doing squats with the weights, just squat down. And if they could get up without touching the ground, they were probably okay, or at least not in advanced stages. But if they couldn't get up without putting their hands on the ground or holding onto something else from a squatting position, they had really advanced muscular dystrophy. And again, if kids under 10 years old, usually within weeks or months, we could reverse it just with the 90 gluten-free diet and supplementing extra selenium. And if they've been in wheelchairs and they have contracted tendons and things, obviously it takes a little bit of time. Actually, I had one fellow by the name of Amos. He's 39 years old. He'd been in a wheelchair for 20-something years. And he couldn't do much. He had to be wheeled around. He couldn't work his own wheelchair. And we were talking to 150 families with muscular dystrophy patients in Lancaster. No, excuse me, it was in Indiana. I think it was it was in Indiana. And we had about 150 muscular dystrophy families. And the very skeptical father said, okay, Wallach, when's Amos there going to get out of his wheelchair? Well, Amos has been on our program for 90 days, and he whispered to me that he could stand up without canes and he could walk a little bit. And I said, okay, you just shut your eyes like you always do. Let him wheel you against the wall, and don't say anything, and just respond to me. If I get asked about it, you just follow my lead. And he got this little twinkle because it's the first time in his life he'd ever been on anything, right? And so this guy said, when's Amos going to stand up? So I did my Moses thing. I turned around, pointed my finger at him, and I screamed at him and said, Amos, stand up. He stood up. He opened his eyes for the first time that anybody had ever seen in 20-something years. Did a little jig, ran around the place. And I mean, just everybody's talking in Dutch for the funniest thing I've ever seen. And gave hope to everybody. Of course, now between yourself and Marvin Ropp and I were working with the Amish communities. Some of them have 5 kids. 3 will have muscular dystrophy. 2 will have cystic fibrosis. And you know, it's genetically impossible, and so you just know that it's a random chance. And of course, both the cystic fibrosis children, the muscular dystrophy children, they can die from cardiomyopathy heart disease, which is also a selenium deficiency. That kind of brings us up to date. We have a lot of experience now with literally hundreds of muscular dystrophy kids. I probably should tell the Jerry Lewis story here.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Doctor. Why don't we segue into the Jerry Lewis, and then we're going to end.
Okay. Well, basically, the short version of it is, because we were so excited about what we were doing, we already knew the cause, prevention, and cure of muscular dystrophy and cystic fibrosis, and said, okay, we need to send this to Jerry Lewis, and we contacted his office and told his assistant Violet that we didn't need any money. We weren't asking Jerry for any money, but it just seemed the righteous thing to do. If Jerry wanted to be the one to make the announcement that the cure for muscular dystrophy had been found, that he should have the opportunity to do that. And so we sent it to them with a bunch of our records, both by email and hard copy. And he got excited, apparently, and he took it to the Muscular Dystrophy Foundation Medical Research Committee and asked them to review my stuff. And they looked me up and they said, well, Wallach's too controversial. We're not going to waste our time even looking at this stuff. And he apparently had told them, look, I've helped you raise $1 billion for research in muscular dystrophy, and we haven't really gotten a lot of progress. And if you'll look at his stuff and tell me there's nothing to it, I won't bring it up again. But I don't want you to dismiss it until you at least look at it. And he says, I insist. And they fired Jerry Lewis. They fired Jerry Lewis because he wanted them to look at something that they hadn't done. And it's really a travesty of all the stuff that Jerry Lewis has done for muscular dystrophy. Jerry's kids, of course, it just hurt everybody's feelings, and it's devastating to Jerry. And so we've been in great contact with his assistant, Violet, many, many times. And, of course, we're going to send them Todd Harrison's video of himself and others that he's been, tracking what he's doing since he's been on our program. And so we're really excited to hear back from Jerry once he sees Todd Harrison's video.
Dr. Wallach, as always, unbelievably inspiring and extremely eye-opening. Ladies and gentlemen, the front door of medicine is guarded by the pharmaceutical industry, and an intractably, intellectually, old-fashioned and stubborn methodology. We are on a campaign here, a crusade of sorts, to bring Dr. Wallach's message of health recovery through science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition to anyone who is brave enough and wise enough to listen. Stay tuned, folks. There's lots more coming. Dr. Wallach, thanks for everything that you do. We'll see you around campus. And where are you going to be tonight?
Okay, well, tonight I'm in Manchester, New Hampshire.
All right, go get him, Skipper. Say hi to all those New Englanders for me, and I'll see you in the future. Take care, buddy.
God bless you. Thank you so much, Dr. Glidden.
Always a pleasure. Pretty remarkable, eh? Well, that's Dr. Joel Wallach telling us about his experience with muscular dystrophy. So let's pick it up where we left off and try to get a little more knowledge base here about what we're really up to. Okay? Very, very good. So this is the research that I was alluding to that Dr. Wallach did. It's called The Diseases of Exotic Animals. It's currently in the Smithsonian Institution. It took 12 years. It cost $25 million. Doc did 26,000 autopsies, 10 million blood chemistries and histopathologies, and his publication is in the Smithsonian Institution in the United States. It's a national treasure, for goodness sake. And here's what $25 million of federally funded research discovered: that the majority of chronic diseases are not genetic, that they're caused, they're caused by nutrient deficiencies. And how's the sound, folks? Are we good on the sound? Okay, thank you very much. Sorry about that. Majority of chronic diseases are fixed with nutrients. High blood pressure, it's not genetic. Type 2 diabetes, it's not genetic. Cystic fibrosis, it's not genetic. Muscular dystrophy, it's not genetic. They're nutritional deficiency diseases. And this is the meat and potatoes of what Dr. Wallach discovered. This is what is essential for health. 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, and 2 essential fatty acids. This is collectively referred to as the 90 for life. 90 essential nutrients necessary for life. The problem with medical nutrition is, or with nutrition in general, is that it's impossible to get all 90 essential nutrients from food. You can't do it. It's not just tricky. It's not just improbable. It's impossible, and this is why. The lion's share of the 90 essential nutrients are minerals. Minerals are only found in the soil. Plants cannot make minerals. Animals cannot make minerals. Here's a map of selenium deposition in the United States. Remember, selenium is the nutrient necessary in order to support and promote the structure and function of the muscles and the lungs. And on this map, if it's pinkish, there's lots of selenium. If it's yellowish, there's a little bit of selenium. If it's greenish, there's less and less. And if it's gray or white, there's hardly any. So you can see here that if you're hoping to get your selenium needs fulfilled just from eating plants and vegetables and drinking cow's milk, you're not going to be able to do it, because it is completely dependent on where in the world the plant or the plant was grown or the animal was eating grass from that soil. Now remember, there are 60 minerals that the human body needs. Selenium is just one. There are 59 other maps which are like this, but they're all different. There's no place on God's green earth where all of the 60 minerals are found in the topsoil in one place, which leads to the startling conclusion that everybody is nutrient deficient. Everybody, and by everybody, I mean everybody. Here's the rundown. If this tank represents your body's nutrient needs, in order for your eyes and your ears and your nose and your mouth and your lungs and your kidneys and your heart and your lungs and your muscles and everything to work, that tank has to be topped off every day with the 90 essential nutrients. Topped off. But because nobody knows this, and because it's impossible to get all your nutrient needs met from eating food, most people have about 1/3 of their nutrient tank filled at any given time. If you're not supplementing with the proper nutrients, you're about 30% full. You can secure about 30% of your body's nutrient needs from eating food. But here comes the stress of life. And guess what? The stress of life whittles away at your reserves. Now you're running on fumes. And when you're running on nutrient fumes, things begin to break. Here's what Dr. Wallach's research uncovered. High blood pressure, the leading cause. Is it a hydrochlorothiazide deficiency? Is it a lisinopril deficiency? Is it genetic? No. It's a deficiency in minerals, calcium and magnesium. Ringing in the ears, it's a calcium deficiency. Vertigo, it's a calcium deficiency. Type 2 diabetes, multiple mineral deficiencies. Congestive heart failure, vitamin B1, asthma, essential fatty acid deficiencies, swelling in the legs, a protein deficiency, obesity, multiple nutrient deficiencies, and of course, cystic fibrosis and multiple sclerosis and muscular dystrophy. Selenium deficiency diseases, period. Now, this is where it all comes from, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the rhesus monkey that Dr. Wallach discovered with the first case of non-human cystic fibrosis. And when Dr. Wallach discovered this, of course, Yerkes Primate Research Center fired him because his findings were inconsistent with their current methodological view, philosophical view of how the body works. It's like Christopher Columbus coming back to Spain and saying, guess what, everybody, the earth isn't flat. It's like Galileo saying, guess what, everybody, it's not the earth that's at the center of the solar system, it's the sun. Well, guess what? This information about multiple muscular dystrophy and cystic fibrosis being not related to genes, but damaged chromosomes, fell on deaf ears, mostly because the medical marketplace is not free and it is completely controlled by the pharmaceutical industry. And this is why Dr. Wallach, in his wisdom, set his company up, YGYOntario, as a networked business. What are we attempting to do with YGYOntario? We are attempting to form a grassroots coalition of the informed, people just like you, who learn the truth of health recovery through the application of science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition, who bring holistic wisdom to bear on their physical complaints. Our fundamental supposition, your body knows how to fix itself, your body wants to fix itself, and most of the time all you need to do is give the body the stuff it needs to fix itself, the 90 essential nutrients. Healing is easy, ladies and gentlemen. Surgery is complicated. You've been brainwashed, for lack of a better word, by the pharmaceutical industry. You have been socialized to believe that healing is a complicated, sophisticated process that should only be attempted in high-tech, multi-million-dollar hospitals. It's nonsense. Surgery is complicated. Healing is easy. In order to support and promote the structure and function of the human body, you need one healthy start pack per 100 pounds of body weight per month. One healthy start pack delivers to your body all 90 essential nutrients in extremely absorbable, bioavailable nutritional supplement forms. Guess what? Remember, we practice holistic medicine. If you have a bone or a joint problem, guess what we recommend? The Healthy Body, Bone, and Joint Pack. If you're suffering from a concentration problem, a heart problem, some type of cardiovascular illness, guess what? To support and promote the structure and function of your brain and heart, we recommend the Healthy Body, Brain, and Heart Pack. If you're having trouble in the digestive area, guess what? Ulcerative colitis, irritable bowel, heartburn. To support and promote the structure and function of your digestive system, a Healthy Body Digestion Pack would be a very good place to start. If you have a blood sugar issue, a Healthy Body Blood Sugar Pack is a very, very, very good place to start. And what we're up to tonight in this webinar is specifically to talk about muscular dystrophy. Specifically about muscular dystrophy. Now, when we're talking about muscular dystrophy, what do we do from a holistic vantage point? We provide the human body with the raw materials necessary to support and promote proper muscular development, structure, and function. This is what I think you thought your MD did, but they don't. Your MD is just trained to deliver drugs to manage and suppress symptoms. So remember, healing is easy, and Wallach's done all the heavy lifting. In order to support and promote healthy structure and function of your musculoskeletal system, it's a walk in the park. The recommendation, one healthy start pack per 100 pounds of body weight per month, one bottle of selenium per 50 pounds of body weight per month, one bottle of HGH Youth Complex per 100 pounds of bottle per month, and we don't give more than 4 bottles of selenium at any moment in time. This is it. This is our recipe. Based on $25 million of federally funded research, thousands of autopsies, and decades of clinical experience by the most researched, most published, most experienced, most lauded naturopathic physician in the world, Dr. Joel Wallach. And if there's extra money in the bank to that program, you can add 1 bottle of Z-Radical per 100 pounds of body weight per month, or what I prefer is 4 bottles of Z-Radical a month. There's an active ingredient in this product called fucoidan, and fucoidan is a sea vegetable extract. There are over 1,100 published research studies on the positive benefits of fucoidan. Over 1,100 published researches, abstracts, research papers on the positive effects of the sea vegetable fucoidan. It is a very good add-on to our supporting and promoting the health, structure, and function of the muscular system. And what we recommend is a twofold program, ladies and gentlemen. You give your body the raw materials it needs to fix itself, and you eliminate foods that hurt the body. These foods should not even be looked at, let alone eaten. Wheat, barley, rye, and oats, oil, fried food, carbonated drinks with a meal, well-done red meat, meat that has nitrates added to it, and the skins of baked potatoes, yams, and sweet potatoes. These foods deliver net negative effects to the human body. They deliver net negative effects to the human body. And who have you listened to for the last 80 years for advice about what to eat? You've listened to Betty Crocker. You've listened to Monsanto. You've listened to people with skin in the game. You've listened to MDs who have no training, no respect, no appreciation, and no experience with medical nutrition. You've let them tell you what to eat, and like Dr. Phil says, hey, how's that working for you? Well, not very well, as it turns out. Now let's dial it in with muscular dystrophy here. I'm going to bring up next Todd Harrison, who is the main operative player here, who's bringing the social media community together around our message of fighting muscular dystrophy by supporting and promoting the structure and function of the musculoskeletal system with science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition. This is his website. I want you to copy this, gold plate it, put it into your browser, and then go to the Health Resources button, click on the Longevity tab, and join the cause. On Todd's website, you will have access to our nutritional products at the wholesale price. And we will hold your hand and let you know how to do the program. This is Todd's Facebook page, Defying Muscular Dystrophy. Check it out. Friend him. There's a lot of information here, ladies and gentlemen, that we are bringing into the table here, onto the table, to support and promote your body's ability to fix itself. And now I'm going to give it over to Todd Harrison so he can tell us a little bit about his story about defying muscular dystrophy. Todd, welcome aboard, buddy. You're up to bat.
First of all, I just want to say thank you all for being here tonight. You know, this is just incredible how far my journey has come, starting back in 2010 as a simple fundraiser for me and my uncle, David Gould, to raise money for the vector treatment. I never knew it would turn into an organization that has 3,000 supporters on Facebook now. Life is a butterfly effect, and I say that because back in 2009, I watched a documentary called Darius Goes West, which brought tears to my eyes about finding that one domino that can stop this disease. I realized those weren't my tears. Those tears were for the whole world of muscular dystrophy to change. Then, in June of 2010, I was simply looking around on YouTube for muscular dystrophy videos and came across the vector. I saw improvements in a few videos and decided, okay, it's time to try something new because modern medicine just doesn't have what I'm looking for. Me, my mom, and my uncle started a Facebook group called Defying Muscular Dystrophy, and in only 2 weeks we raised $14,000 from family and friends for a trip to go to Texas and obtain the electric stimulation machine from Dr. Donald Rhodes. I instantly noticed benefits using the machine, and that's when I started my before and after videos on my YouTube channel, Defying Dystrophy. Now let's fast forward to February of 2013. After making over 50 videos in a 3-year span, I received a random message from someone that included an interview with Dr. Joe Wallach, where he was talking about muscular dystrophy being a selenium deficiency. So I hopped on my best friend, Mr. Google, and started researching. Sure enough, there was overwhelming evidence that selenium was a big player in the agriculture industry, where there was a breakout in muscular dystrophy known as white muscle disease in the 1950s, and it was shown that selenium supplementation solved the problem of muscular dystrophy in animals. Let's forward from the 1950s to 1983, where a study with myotonic muscular dystrophy used high doses of selenium and vitamin E. That study was the first documented study on one patient showing normalized strength levels after 2 years. Then in 1986, they did the same dosage on 5 myotonic muscular dystrophy patients, with all 5, again, normalizing strength levels after a 2-year period. This is where it gets interesting. In 1988 and 1990, there were selenium studies done on muscular dystrophy that showed no benefit. However, they only used low doses, and both studies were done in Linköping, Sweden. Then, in 1994, those same researchers did a study on prednisone and said that there were benefits on that. That study was also done in Linköping, Sweden as well. And guess what big-time muscular dystrophy organization has ties to that city in Sweden present day? That's right. After seeing what was going on, I jumped on a longevity protocol, and the first thing I tried was the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, and my body felt something it never felt before because it was getting nutrified for the first time ever. A few weeks later, I get on a full longevity protocol involving Beyond Tangy Tangerine, OsteoFX Plus, EFA Plus, glucogel capsules, Ultimate Selenium, HGH Youth Complex, and Z Radical, which is right behind me. I have been documenting my progress extensively over the past 3 months, showing unbelievable progress in such a short amount of time. You can see all those improvements in my recently released documentary called Defying Muscular Dystrophy, The Truth. And I can just tell you all that it feels absolutely incredible to defeat a disease when modern medicine is light years away from showing this kind of improvement anywhere. If you all want to join the fight, you can join my journey right now tonight, because this is something you have to try. I ask myself every day, how in the heck is all this happening? Everything I ever wanted in my life is here. I am defeating muscular dystrophy. I am defeating muscular dystrophy for my 2-month-old son because his dad isn't going to be in a wheelchair. His dad is going to be able to take him camping and fishing. His dad is going to be a normal dad with no limitations. My blessings are longevity, my family, my fiance Lauren, my son Evan, and even my dog Champ. It took my family 73 years to destroy muscular dystrophy. My great uncle John, who passed away in 1996 from muscular dystrophy, is looking down at me right now, proud of what I'm doing. Because it's not just for me, it's for my uncle and the whole damn world of muscular dystrophy. Let's stop the funerals and let's live life, because life is supposed to be a beautiful adventure, not something full of stress and misery. Let's all stand up and get on a health journey. Recovery tonight. Dr. Glidden, I'm going to hand it back to you.
That's how we do it, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it doesn't get any truer, it doesn't get any more poignant than this. We're delivering our message to whomever wants to listen. And you know, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. It doesn't matter that you even know what research to look at. What matters is results. When you give the body the raw materials that it needs in order to fix itself, and you stop eating food that's gumming up the works, most of the time, guess what happens? The human body fixes itself. So let's take the next 5 minutes and end this presentation. Give me 5 more of your minutes, and we'll take it on out. Here we go. Now, this is a picture of Todd Harrison's bicep before and after, 90 for life. What we're involved with here is grassroots research, because the pharmaceutical industry ain't going to do it. The American Medical Association ain't going to do it. You talk to anybody in the Amish communities in Pennsylvania or southern Indiana, the American Medical Association has been taking blood samples from them for the last 60 years, and they're not any closer to doing anything now than they were then, because, again, their philosophical orientation on what really happens is outdated, old-fashioned, and quite frankly, it just doesn't work. So we have developed simple, science-based, clinically verified nutritional supplement programs to support and promote your muscular health. And there's 2 ways that you can work with us. If you're interested, if you're suffering with muscular dystrophy, you can get in touch with Todd, get in touch with the person that brought you here. If you were referred to this webinar by a longevity associate, get in touch with them. Tell them you want to do the program, and they will hold your hand and show you how to do it. If you were invited here by Todd or from somebody on Facebook, go to Todd's website. Hit the Health Recovery tab and follow the links, or you can send Todd an email at this email address right here, tharrisondmd@ymail.com. That's T Harrison, Defeating Muscular Dystrophy, right, at ymail.com. There's 2 ways you can do this. You can just get the supplements and start taking them yourself. You don't have to be involved with the research program, but we are forming a research program. If you want to join the research team, there are things that you're going to have to commit to. We're putting together a protocol. It's a 90-day protocol and then a 6-month protocol where you'll have to commit to being on the supplements and following the diet and tracking your improvement. We're looking for 10 people who want to join the research team. We're looking for 50 people. 100 would be better. 1,000 would be best. Whatever you feel motivated to do, just get in touch with us. get in touch with Todd Harrison and let us show you how to support and promote the structure and function of your body and give your body a fighting chance to fix itself. Why? Because it can, for goodness sake. Now, my website is also a resource, fireyourmdnow.com. I have a radio program that goes from 3 to 5 p.m. Central Time. You can listen to it on the internet, 3 to 5 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday. We talk about muscular dystrophy. We talk about cystic fibrosis. We talk about all chronic diseases. We talk about current events relative to holistic medicine. We're really going out of our way to spread our message, ladies and gentlemen, because, you know, aging is mandatory, but suffering is optional. On my website, I have a health recovery program that you can sign up for. It's $20 a month. If you sign up for it, you get 70 hours of recorded health webinars, 2 hours of live webinars a week, 2 hours of live health chat with Q&A a week. We have all kinds of information about many different chronic health conditions, including, of course, muscular dystrophy. But this is a holistic method. This is a holistic message. We're here to help you to the degree that you want to be helped. The proof of the pudding is in the eating, right? This is our message. We're bringing this message to anybody that wants to listen. Here's Todd's information again. DefyingMD.com. Check it out. Get in touch with us. Go right here. Click on the Health Resources button. If you're suffering with muscular dystrophy, if you know someone who's suffering with muscular dystrophy and you want to give our science-based, clinically verified health recovery protocols a try, here's the Facebook page again. Here's the email address one last time. Please join us, ladies and gentlemen, and tell everybody in your life about what we're up to, because this isn't just a muscular dystrophy thing, although that's what we're talking about tonight. This is a let's all rally around the campfire and lift our communities up into the wonderful world of health. Until we meet in person, I remain your steadfast advocate for health, Dr. Peter Glidden, thanking you again for your time and looking forward to seeing you all in the future. Thank you so much, everybody. Dr. Glidden, over and out.
And definitely check out my book, Fake Diseases. It covers all of the major topics that come up, like birth defects, blood sugar problems, bone and joint problems, cancer, autoimmune problems, and more. And it's on Amazon for just $9.99. And the audiobook read-along version is free here on YouTube, and the link for that is in the description of this video. Definitely get yourself a copy of Dr. Wallach's cookbook. This is basically a textbook teaching you everything you know about how to cook without the bad foods, particularly oil and gluten, and all of the other problematic things on the list. This is 300 pages stuffed full of recipes, every traditional recipe that you could think of, and modern dishes without the bad foods that they're usually made from. And of course, make sure to check out our food page, Notus Foods, that's on YouTube, and at Notus Foods on Instagram. We have a lot of content up there teaching you how to cook without the bad foods that Dr. Wallach describes, and Dr. Glidden's 12 bad foods, all of that, all of the rules that you need to know. And we have experienced chefs and bakers who will answer the questions in those inboxes. And I've also published a book in response to some of Dr. Wallach's criticisms, including the major articles that have been written against him on the internet. So if you are a Dr. Wallach fan or a longevity distributor, I definitely recommend having this book in your toolkit.